The inevitable journey. I would like to talk to you about preparing yourself for that long, inevitable journey that we all have to take. Everyone in this world reaches the end of the journey at one point or another. However, we do not know when our time is here, when it's up. You could be 20, 75, or 120 years old. We all want to live as healthy and as long as possible. But we never know when and how this journey will end for us, our family members. So each one of us is taught that it is necessary to prepare for this long journey. We have to treat everyone as if we will be moving to another country, place, or universe shortly. They will not be able to talk to us, and we will not be able to talk to them. Therefore, it is very important to prepare. If you are going to another country, moving far away from your family and livelihood, you would go around seeing your old friends and saying goodbye to them, knowing you would not be seeing them any time soon. You would visit your old school, you would go to your old haunts, you would try to relive your life and play the video back, and you would want to retrieve all those happy memories. Only then are you ready for that inevitable journey. We never know when the flight is going to take off. Therefore, we have to imagine that is what we are preparing for. The important question we have to try to reflect upon are, why are we here? Why are we alive? What is life all about? Why do we live this life here and a new life somewhere else, knowing that we will not be taking our body with us? This journey is the journey of the soul back into eternity and its right place. After a time, it comes back again into a newborn baby and starts the journey all over again. To explain this truth further, I want to tell you a story of a shipwreck in a very remote island out in the Pacific Ocean. A ship ran aground. It was a very small ship with a number of families on board. Everyone was drowned except for an 8-year-old boy. He was only 8, but he was a smart little boy. He managed to get ashore, and gradually he removed food and other things from the ship all by himself, and eventually managed to make a little hut. He really did not know much about the world. However, he could speak English. The only other inhabitants of the island were monkeys. The monkeys saw this little boy all by himself, and they knew he was no threat right away, so they somehow adopted him. Soon the food and supplies from the ship ran out, and the monkeys taught the boy how to swing through the trees and eat the fruits, berries, and roots. They taught him how to groom himself and all their mannerisms. They taught him the life they had. They looked after him and raised him as one of their own. He did all the things that monkeys do, and had quite a lot of fun. He lost a lot of his speaking ability, though because he had no one to speak to. However, he soon learnt the monkeys' language and how they communicated, and that went on for a few years. Then one day, a ship passed by the island. The captain, who was standing at the helm of the ship and looking around the island with his binoculars, saw a boy wandering around with a troop of monkeys. He immediately sent some of his sailors to the island on a little boat. They called the boy over. The boy spoke to them haltingly. However, he was delighted to see human beings. The sailors invited him for a meal on the boat. They would return him to this monkey family on the island once his meal was over. The little boy agreed to go. When he got there, he met the kind captain. The captain wanted to adopt the boy as he realized what had happened. He had seen the shipwreck there, and the boy was all by himself with the monkeys around. At first, the boy could not sit still, so he jumped about from place to place as monkeys do. However, the captain was persistent to teach him everything. They sailed out together without the boy realizing that the ship was moving away. He would never go back to that island. The captain spent a lot of time teaching him about life and how things worked. The boy had lost his memories of his mother and father and family. He had to be taught where he had come from. The captain told him that he was born inside a woman's body. His mother. He told him that when he was inside his mother's womb, he was an extremely tiny baby, not even the size of his thumb. He explained that he slowly grew, and what may have seemed to be an interesting world to him, yet unaware that there was an entirely different world awaiting him outside. You lived in a bag of fluid, he was told. You received all the necessary food and life support from your mother through a pipe. The pipe allowed oxygen to flow through your heart and body. Your lungs were not developed enough for you to breathe. In fact, your lungs were flat. You could have had neither water nor air. You would listen to the music of your mother's heart and the sound of her talking. You learned many fantastic things. Captain then explained how peaceful and warm the world inside the womb must have seemed. If it was possible for you to talk to other little babies being born, you would have expressed how unhappy you were to have to leave all that comfort behind. However, it was finally your turn to be born. Suddenly, you were thrown out of your mother's womb. It felt like leaving a cave. For those left behind, you had in fact died. You were no longer there. Out in the new world, the doctors immediately threw water at you to make you gasp and start crying. The crime helped to remove the liquid from your lungs so that you could breathe. Suddenly you started living a new life. This is how you came into being in this world, by dying from another. In our lives, we face similar situations. Whether we think a person, an animal, or a plant has died, and that is what we see. However, the reality is far from our perception. When a seed is planted into the ground, it has to die in order to become a plant and live on. It first rots, then slowly starts to develop. It shoots and then grows out of the ground. It becomes a beautiful flower or strong tall tree. It becomes a tree that produces fruits or a tree that provides shade and shelter. The same thing happens in our lives. The difference is that we spend 9 months in our mother's womb and we come out as babies. The soul really joined us 40 days before and after conception. And during those 40 days, the baby developed in potential. Everything was there. And we're not allowed to kill that baby. And we have to look after that baby and let it grow, unless the mother's life is threatened. Then up to 3 months, we can have an abortion to save her. After that, it really depends on what the situation is. Up to 6 months to save the mother's life, then the mother must live. But after that, unfortunately, it can't be done. And if it does, a lot of people are not going to like what I say, but it is in fact murdering a life. And we can imagine that if all the little babies in the world could get together and they were asked, well, how would you like to be born? Would you like to come out and live a normal life, or would you like to be aborted? I wonder how many of them would say, yes, I would like to be aborted. How many people in this world would say, oh, good, I would like to be aborted? And this we have to think about very deeply. People have a right to life. That is true. Everyone has a right to life, even a little baby. Now, the baby does not grow itself out into a plant. A human being does not just suddenly pop out and develop outside the ground. What happens is that you vanish from this world while your soul goes through a period of re-education. The soul eventually comes to a time where it has to go into a mother's womb again. It is born again and goes through the same cycle. There are no flowers or plants that last forever. Take this beautiful blue 13-petal lily. Some species live up to 75 years, while some only have their lives for 3 or 4 years. A dog has an average lifespan of 11 years. Therefore, everything has its own lifespan. And once it comes to its end, it is buried. The dead will not grow again, unless we are talking about flowers or plants. However, a human soul is reborn and comes back again. That should give us a lot of confidence in our lives. We must understand that we are embarking on a long journey which will eventually come back from, and usually and optimistically, we return to either our immediate remote family, and sometimes we go into another life to repair what we did not do and make up for the time lost. Each time we take another step forward, when looking at a newborn baby, remember that at one point the soul left the world and is now recycled back into a new body. With that being said, human souls are the same as everything else in nature. The only difference is that they have a distinct way of being born and sprouting again. We differ in how we make our next journey through life. We should always bear that in mind. Allows us to see the world from an entirely different perspective. Each one of us must prepare. We should ask ourselves, why am I alive? Why should my soul continue in this current body? What am I doing for myself and other people? Have I really reached the end? Many people do not know the answers to those questions. After I had a major heart attack, followed by a very big heart operation, I had to change, so I started a new life and career. The age of 80, I still have a lot to do here. There is one secret. If you do not use it, you lose it. One is always capable of doing much more. That is how we should look at life. Give ourselves a good reason as to why we should continue. Believe in yourself. There is so much more you can do for yourself and others. Look at the life of the world, renowned physicist Dr. Stephen Hawking, who was stuck in a wheelchair. He could not speak and had to use special equipment to be able to write with his eyes alone. He was incredible. His voice only came through a machine. Yet he managed to write a brilliant bestseller, a book that taught everyone how nature and the forces of the universe work. He then went on to write another book. He even gave lectures in that strange, tinny language. The voice coming over was really sometimes difficult to understand, but he never gave up. However, one should never give up, but prepare for the journey to the other universe. We should be ready to come back to another form and start all over again. We must remember that each of your children have a different personality. Each of your children are a soul separate from you. Yes, you can clone them biologically and physically. They are both of you, and that's where you're really continuing on. And their personality develops, and it is a joint personality from both of you. And that also develops. But in the end, each soul has its own destiny. We have to have respect for it.